You're listening to the Casting for Fun podcast, the show that talks about entertainment, sports, music, and inspirational stories for all to enjoy. We're glad that you could join us today. Please sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Now, here is your host, Albert Pineda.
Welcome, everybody, to the Casting for Fun podcast. I am your host, Albert Pineda, and Merry Christmas to all the listeners. I hope everyone's having a wonderful Christmas season and that you're enjoying time with friends and family and loved ones and just enjoying the spirit of the season or just having fun, whatever it is that you're doing. So my daughter Avery wants to say hello. Come say hi.
Hello.
What do you want to say to everybody?
Merry Christmas to Buddy.
Merry Christmas, everyone. That's my daughter Avery. So for this week's episode of the Casting for Fun podcast, I'm going to be having on two very special guests, Jill and Rich Stewart. They're a very amazing, wonderful couple who are going to share their thoughts on Christmas, what it means to them, and their experiences traveling around the world, living in various parts of the country, their careers. It's a really fun conversation, and I'm glad I got to spend a part of the Casting for Fun podcast having a conversation with them. Before I get to my interview with the Stewarts, I know that when I have special guests on the podcast, there are new listeners who are probably listening specifically for the guests. So I imagine there's people coming on listening to this episode who are here specifically for Jill and Rich. That being the case, I don't want to spend too much time talking about my stuff, but just really briefly, I do want to acknowledge and mention the World Cup final just occurred this past weekend. Argentina won in a thriller against France. And if you remember, about a month ago, I recorded a podcast with my good friend Ryan Ferrante, where we discussed the fact that the FIFA video game by Electronic Arts had run a simulation and predicted that Argentina was going to win. So that was pretty cool to see that. And the game was exciting and fun. It was really, really great. And it's awesome to see Messi win his first World Cup and probably his last, because I imagine with his age, he's probably not going to be playing anymore. In fact, I think he already announced that he won't be part of World Cup in 2026. So it was a fun month of soccer, and yeah, it was really great. Okay, here we go. This is my conversation with Jill and Rich Stewart discussing the Christmas holiday season. Join me now on the Casting for Fun podcast with two very special guests, dear friends of mine, Jill and Rich Stewart. Jill, Rich, how are you both doing tonight?
Hey, Albert.
Hey.
Doing great.
Yep,
Awesome.
Doing good.
Very good, very good. And Merry Christmas to you both.
Same to you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. So my podcast has really just been for fun. I think it's kind of interesting and cool. Like if people are driving on their commute just to listen to stuff. And it's great that we have the technology that anybody who wants to can actually just record and post it on the internet for people to hear.
Mm-hmm.
So again, this is purely entertainment stuff, but sometimes we get into conversations about inspirational and great stuff like that. So however the conversation flows, great. I do have specific questions for you both, but also mostly kind of related to Christmas as well.
Awesome.
Sounds good.
It's a good topic, Albert.
Okay, very cool, very cool. And then, of course, I want to get into some of your discussions about travels, because I've heard from Allison, you guys have had some really fascinating travel destinations. So I kind of want to talk about that as well. And then your love of Disneyland too. So.
Oh, yeah, there's that too.
Very cool. So I don't think I know, but where did you both grow up and how did you meet?
Go ahead, Jill. You go first.
Well, I grew up in Arizona, in the Phoenix area, Tempe, actually,
Okay.
specific. Yeah, and Rich grew up in Las Vegas.
Oh, very good.
Yeah. So we both went to a little school called Brigham Young University, which is where we met. And we got married. We ended up moving back to Las Vegas, where Rich started working there. And then we've moved several times since then, just for jobs, basically.
Yeah, we moved. So we lived there for, I think, like 7 years.
Mm-hmm.
And then we had two kids when we moved. We moved to Louisiana. And we lived there for 20 years. But Jill was, I think when I moved there, she was 8 months pregnant.
Yeah.
And so she had the baby in Vegas, and then 6 weeks later moved all the kids and her came out to Louisiana. So that was it. And then from there we went to Pittsburgh, and then from Pittsburgh here to California. So we've been from one end of the country to the other.
Oh, very cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
So you mentioned it was mostly because of work scenarios that was kind of taking you around the country, right? And if I'm not mistaken, Rich, you work in human resources for a company, and Jill, you're a personal trainer. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, so can you reflect a little more on how your careers have shaped you both as people, and if you have any Christmas related stories to your respective careers?
Yeah. So Jill keeps me in shape. She whoops on me quite a bit as a personal trainer.
That's not true.
No, it's not true. She's hard to keep up with. But anyways, yeah. So no, my job. So yeah, in human resources. So when we lived in Vegas, I mean, I had a few jobs, while we were waiting for Jill to graduate from college. And then we moved to Vegas, and I didn't really have a job. I had a degree in psychology. And so it was like, what are you going to do with that? And I think that's what Jill's dad said before we got married, like, how are you going to support her with a college psychology degree? I was like, I don't know. I'll figure out a way. So anyway, so when we moved there, I was delivering pizzas for Domino's. So did that for a while, and we were house sitting. And that's how we actually got back to Vegas after Jill graduated, was we house sat for, I think it was like 6 weeks. And we house sat for these people. They had turtles, so we had to take care of their turtles, and it was cool. It was fun. It was kind of strange, but we did that, and then I got a job at Caesar's Palace, actually.
Oh, okay.
In their HR department, and worked there for about 6 years, and then from there went to work for a hospital in Las Vegas, Sunrise Hospital, and worked there for about 6 months. And then somebody I had worked with before was doing consulting in Louisiana and called me and said, you need to come out here. There's this really cool Indian casino that they just opened, and they really need a good HR guy, so you should come out. And I was like, where is Louisiana? I don't even know where that is. So we kind of, didn't really want to go, but after a couple of, I guess, my friend calling me a couple times and saying, no, seriously, you need to come out. Came out, looked at the job. It was really an amazing opportunity. Jill was super excited about it.
No, not true.
Yeah. But she, being the awesome person she is, stuck with me, and out came all the kids, and we lived there for 20 years and really enjoyed ourselves, made some great friends, and learned a whole different culture in the South than we were used to, being desert rats. So it was pretty fun. I mean, we had a really good time, lots of good friends, great food. It was just really an adventure, and we were far away from family. So, it was just us in a lot of ways, and the friends that we made while we were there. So pretty cool.
Oh, very good. Very good. And what has your experiences been like then, Jill, for you being a personal trainer?
Well, that is actually something that I started more recently.
Oh, okay.
So yeah. So I have always, since we got married, I've always been like an exercise instructor, like a group exercise instructor. Back in the day, it was aerobics, and then it's kind of changed over time. But everywhere we've lived, I've taught group exercise, but it wasn't until like about 4 years ago, living here. Well, no, that's not even true. Not 4 years ago, less than that. Right before COVID, I actually started becoming interested in being a personal trainer. And then, of course, COVID hit, which was a little devastating for the health club, industry. And so I kind of put that on hold a little bit. And I've really only been doing it since we reopened, the club that I work at, and doing that. But I really love it. So it hasn't really taken us from place to place. It's mostly been for his job. But
my fault.
But it's something that I really, really love, because I get to know people a little bit better. I get to see, improvement in their lives, and the way that they feel about themselves. So it's been a really great opportunity. So yeah.
Oh, awesome. Sounds really, really good. Sounds like it's a very worthwhile experience too, to see people transform their lives, which is really, really great and cool. And you can keep yourself active and fit too. So.
Absolutely. That's why I do. That's why I started like teaching, was to keep myself in shape more than anything else.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, I'm good.
Very cool. Well, it is interesting that you have your job working at Caesars as a HR representative. So I guess you weren't just making that up, that he actually did work for a casino, which is kind of funny.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, and that's what he did when he moved to Louisiana and Pittsburgh.
Yeah, all casinos.
He worked at a lot of casinos. Yeah.
Oh, very good, very good. So I wanted to ask you both about your time in New Orleans. I got to visit 12 years ago for a concert. So I got to spend a lot of time hanging out at the French Quarter, which was really cool, getting seeing the sights there and try some of the food as well. But I guess for the amount of time that you guys got to spend there, I mean, you really got immersed into the culture, Southern culture. So I guess what I wanted to ask you was, how would you compare Christmas there versus other places in the country where you've lived?
I mean, I think one thing that I'll say is there's just in Louisiana, they are a God-fearing people. So they love Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I feel like it was, super different from other places that we've lived, but there's a lot of people who have a strong belief in Christ. And so, I mean, as far as Christmas goes, I mean, I think you had a lot of, believers or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. Is there anything you can think of that was like really different there?
No, I don't know if I would say different as much as in just one thing. We didn't actually live in New Orleans.
Oh, okay.
We lived in a city called Lafayette, which is, I don't know what, an hour, 2 hours?
2 hours. 2 hours. Well, it was 2 hours of from New Orleans. It was about an hour west of Baton Rouge. But we did get to New Orleans quite a bit.
Yeah, we did go quite a bit.
Yeah.
But I think, for me, Christmas was always just kind of a nice time. There's a lot of celebrations, lots of family activities. Friends got together. At church, we would do a lot of things there as a church group, and that was nice. But I think the neighborhoods, a lot of people just really celebrated, and you really did feel the spirit of Christmas, if you will, there. So that made it fun. It was great for the kids, I think. But yeah, I don't know that there's anything really that different. I mean, we had Santa Claus, so it was okay. But no, it was just a nice family time. And I think that was just sort of the South for me, is it was really family friendly where we lived. And people just kind of took care of each other. So it was really cool that way.
Oh, okay. Very good. Very good. Was there any particular cuisines that you really enjoyed then? When I was there, I got to try Cajun jambalaya, and I thought was really excellent. And then even just your basic fried chicken, anywhere you can get fried chicken was just really good.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, definitely the big thing, I think, for us, and we noticed this right away when we got there. I mean, gumbo was just huge. And I mean, Rich actually learned how to make gumbo there, so he makes a really good gumbo now.
Oh, awesome.
Yes, next time he makes some, we'll have to
give you some.
Yeah, we'll have to give you some so you can try it. But
perfect. That'd be great.
And the funny thing is that the men were really into the cooking there, which I really like that. The men liked it. Yeah, and they would they were really proud of their gumbo and their jambalaya and all of that kind of stuff. Like, they really got into the cooking, and these little Cajun men were the ones that taught him how to make it. So yeah, it was kind of cool.
So I got to tell you a story about this, because so I remember when we had been down there, and I met this guy, this Cajun guy. Last name is Broussard, and became really good friends with him and his family. But he invited me to go out to his camp. And I'd been living down there not very long in Louisiana. So he says, "Hey, we're going to go out to the camp. Would you like to go?" So I'm thinking, "Oh, cool. We're going to go camping." So I went to the store. I bought a sleeping pad. I got all this camping gear, loaded my pack up. And then, of course, it's tons of marsh out there. So he's like, we'll be camping out, or we're going to the camp out in the marsh. And so we went after work. We got out there. It was really late. It was like a 3-hour drive. I'm like, where are we going? And we got out there and we park, and there's this big sand dune. And he's like, we have to go over this sand dune. And I'm thinking, man, where is this camp? So we hiked up through this. It was real dark. We hiked over this hill, and there was this massive like house up on stilts with electricity and everything out in the middle of nowhere.
Oh.
We went inside, and they had electricity, and there was a big screen TV. They had the air conditioner on. And I mean, you looked around and it was like, where do they even get power? But when you go to Louisiana and you go out to these, what they call camps, they're like big old houses, and and you walk in, and what Jill was saying about the Cajun men do the cooking. So you go to these camps, and these guys are out there, these old Cajun guys, and they're making like jambalaya. They got gumbo going. You go out and you
Frying up fish.
So you get, the running jug lines, and then you have fresh fish, and you fry it fresh and eat it right out of the fryer. And you crab, and you do all this stuff. And the food, I mean, there is like no comparison. It is like so awesome. But it was pretty funny. I thought we were actually going camping. I had brought my backpack and thought we were going to hike into a camp somewhere. They kind of made fun of me when I got into the house that was the camp, and they're like, what is all that for? Like, I don't know, I just thought we were going camping. So they made fun of me for a while for that one. But
that's really cool.
Yeah,
very nice. It's kind of funny going to what you had mentioned, Jill, about the Cajun men. My impression was that the Southern men were very chivalrous, and very gentlemanly, I guess, as it were. Maybe putting the rest of us to shame. So the fact that they do know how to cook very exquisite meals, but that is a pretty cool thing. Yeah, absolutely. Mm-hmm. Very nice. So I wanted to ask you about travel destinations. So as you mentioned, you've gotten to live in various parts of the United States, but you've also got to visit some pretty awesome locations in Europe, from what I heard from Allison. Including, I guess, Budapest and Prague. Was that right? So
yes.
Can you explain some of your experiences traveling to Europe, and what were some of your favorite destinations and experiences there?
Hands down, Prague is my favorite place so far that I've been.
Yeah,
and I mean, I've had a few travels even before I met him to Europe. But it was just like magical. You said something about Disneyland earlier. And I'm like, it's kind of like Disneyland. It's magical. It's just everywhere you turn your head, it's just, oh, I need a picture of that. I need a picture of that. It's just the architecture, the colors, the I don't know, everything about it, and the food actually there was really good too. So yeah, no, I loved Prague.
Yeah, I did too. I really do think, and the interesting thing about Prague is there's so much history there. Mm-hmm. And I think it was just, like Jill said, for me, it was everywhere I looked was a picture. I had to take a picture of everywhere that I looked. Didn't matter if I was just turning a quarter of a turn. I was like, oh, I got to have a picture of that. Oh, I got to have a picture of that. So it's definitely someplace that I think, as far as European trips go, I think it's fairly affordable compared to, we also went to Vienna, excuse me, and Vienna, and we also went to Amsterdam.
Oh,
and
right.
So, I really thought that Amsterdam would be like, that's where it was going to be so amazing. And it's absolutely beautiful, really cool place. But Prague is just something that you just don't see. I mean, we think we have history in the U.S. because we go back to the 1800s or something. And then you go over there and you're like, wow, we have no history in the U.S. So it's just something that I think if people can do it, it's very interesting. I think the other thing that I really liked was we went to like we learned a lot about communism, and we learned a lot about sort of how it was with the Iron Curtain and Russia, the U.S. SR and just a lot of how that history was. And that was really fascinating to compare that to what we have in the US, and you kind of really get a different perspective. And so I think it just brings it back to you how blessed and lucky we are to live here. Just from a governing and just different things, as bad as it might seem, we're just really lucky.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. That it sounds very wonderful. Everything you've already described about the various countries you've gotten to visit. I'm not sure if you remember Shelley and James Strong, who were here in Upland with us a couple years
Oh,
ago.
yeah.
Okay, they were guests of mine about a month ago, and they got to go to Paris, and they told me about their experiences in Paris. So, from everyone who's been to Europe, any country in Europe, they've had just nothing but wonderful things to say. So, I know Allison would probably love to take me someday because I've never been.
Yeah, I mean, it just, it makes you want to travel even more, but it also just opens your eyes to so many things, when I mean, even with us moving around the United States, I feel like it's opened our eyes up to, what it's like in other places. I mean, and just what's out there in the world. And also that people are just people, even if you don't speak the same language. I mean, that was one thing I thought a lot about while we were over there. Even though we don't speak the same language and we have different culture, we're still all, just people living our lives. We all want to be happy. We all want the same things. That we have a lot in common, even though it might not seem so on the surface.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Go ahead, Rich. I'm sorry.
Well, I was just going to say, one of the other things about like when we moved around the country, I think, was for our kids, you always think, oh man, they're not going to have their family around them, their cousins and their uncles and aunts and their grandparents. And while that's true, I think that for our kids, it was I really think it was a blessing in our lives, because we all had to kind of rely on each other, and you kind of come closer together as a family. So a lot of times people are really hesitant, I think, to up and move because they don't, it pushes you, and it pushes you out of your comfort zone. But I think that it's really kind of cool, because some of the best memories that Jill and I have are of living in these other places, and the friends that we made, the things we got to go see and do. And just really, we talk about it even still, about how great those experiences were and where we went. So, I think it's really something that people kind of lose sight of, how big the world is and how much there is to see and learn about.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. It's a very well put. I don't think I could say it better myself. So thank you again for sharing your experiences with what you've learned visiting European nations. I want to shift gears a little bit to the Disney parks, like we talked about in the beginning of the show. So it's fun to see that you both enjoy going. Allison and I are big fans as well. We have the annual passes, and it's just so much fun. Especially at this time of year when you get to see it decorated with all the Christmas decorations. It's just really great. And Allison also mentioned to me that you both have had the opportunity to visit Disney World. So I wanted to get your take on both parks, like how you enjoy it, particularly at Christmas time, and I guess maybe like the pros and cons of both parks for Disneyland and Disney World.
Well,
Jill's actually the expert.
I'm the expert.
Okay.
I'm not an expert. I'm not an expert, but I do think I'm very biased. I mean, having a pass for Disneyland, being able to go, as you get to go so many times and you really get to know the park. We've been to Disney World, I don't know, probably over the years, I want to say 3 or 4 times. But we went there, we've been there recently as well. And he was on a work, he was at a seminar. So he went one day with me, and then another day I went all by myself, and I thought, I'm going to go to the Magic Kingdom, and I'm going to go on every ride that I can. And I'm going to compare, Disneyland versus Disney, Magic Kingdom at Disney World. And I got to say, I mean, Disneyland to me is just hands down the better of the two. But like you said, there's pros and there's cons. So while Disney World is giant and they have all these different parks, So there is a lot to do, and there are some things there that we don't have here. If you're trying to go and fit a lot of things in, obviously you have to stay for days and days, because it's really hard to like jump back and forth between parks. It's really hard to do that. And because of that, I feel like you can kind of go to one park per day. And when you only go to one park, you're only getting a fraction of what you would get if you went to Disneyland and California Adventure, because everything's so close together and it's in both of the parks. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it absolutely does. Yeah.
Yeah. So, so there's that. And then I feel like a lot of the rides at Disneyland are better. Just that's my personal preference. So I kind of, I don't know. I'm a fan of Disneyland more than I'm a fan of Disney World. I don't know.
But we like going to Disney World, but definitely
We do.
Disneyland is the place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we were there at Christmas time one time too. And of course, it was a little bit different because it was during COVID. So they just didn't have how everything was just modified during COVID. But we did go over Christmas time, in the middle of COVID, probably at the height of COVID, when Disneyland was closed and Disney World was opened. So we went, and also my sister lives in Orlando, so that's like another reason to be over there, but which is great. But and I mean, things were a little different because it was COVID or whatever, but they still, the decorations, the whole being there at Christmas time was amazing, just like it is here. It's just, it just puts you into the Christmas spirit for sure. I love it.
It does, yeah. Even for just like little things, how they transform. It's a Small World. Our Avery absolutely loves it when we go on that ride. We can go on that over and over again and just be happy. So
yes, but now here's the thing: Disney World, they don't do that.
Oh, really? Huh?
Yeah, they don't change. They don't change Haunted Mansion.
Oh,
and they don't. Yeah, they don't Christmas up their rides like they do here. So that's another reason why I'm like Disneyland. It's got the. It's definitely got the advantage. But.
Yes. Very cool. Very cool. So I guess kind of random question for you, Rich. Do you have a favorite ride at Disneyland? One that you particularly enjoy going on?
Boy, that's a tough one. We ask each other this question a lot, and when we have people come, and I think for me, it's pretty much any of the roller coasters. I really like Big Thunder Mountain quite a bit, and Incredicoaster, pretty amazing. Any of the big rides like that, I really like. So we both were
Guardians.
Guardians is awesome. We love that one. So we really enjoy the kind of thrill rides. So we try to hit those as often and as much as we can.
Oh, okay. Very good. Very good. Have you had a chance to go on the Rise of the Resistance yet?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay. Good. Yeah. We went one time where we got sitters. So no kids, just Allison and I, and we were able to go
awesome.
on it. It was such a blast. It was really fun.
Yeah. Super cool.
Yeah. So as much as I love bringing the kids and seeing how happy they are, it is kind of nice to have that night with just Allison and I.
Oh, definitely. We've taken our grandkids there, and it's a whole different experience. We love it because it's fun to see them so excited. But at the same time, when we go alone, man, we just run in there and we get on all kinds of rides because it's much faster.
So we'll give you another Disney story. So when we were over, because my company that I work for now is based in Tokyo, so we had gone over there. So we'd gone over there for a business meeting. And Jill came with me. And so, of course, Disneyland, Tokyo Disneyland. So
we weren't planning on
We weren't planning, but we got there and they had a typhoon. And so we were stuck there for like 9 days and we couldn't get out.
Oh, no.
But, after it passed, everything opened back up. So we went to Disney Sea. So we're like two little kids because we're there and we're like freaking out. We're like, we're in Tokyo. Going to Disneyland, what the heck? How is this even possible? So they do a rope drop, and so like we moved pretty quick when we got up there, and they did this sort of, I don't know if they call it a rope drop there, I can't remember, but it's like it opens and then Man, we were moving pretty good. We were kind of doing our little run to get there, like two little kids. So it was fun, but it's, yeah, any chance we get, we do something Disney.
Oh, very good, very good. Have you gone to Tokyo many times then?
I've been there twice.
Okay.
Yeah, I just went with him once, and then
COVID hit.
Since COVID, he hasn't gone back for work. So we're hoping that'll happen again at some point, and I can tag along.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
That's an amazing place too. It's an amazing place too.
It is.
Yeah, that's what another friend of mine who's a previous guest on the podcast mentioned that. So Tokyo definitely a really cool destination as well. I wanted to shift out to Christmas specifically. So I mean, you have 4 kids, is that right?
3.
Oh, three. Okay. And how many grandkids?
We have 5 and 1 on the way.
Oh, congratulations. Very nice. Very nice. So, and I'm assuming the kids are also spread out throughout the country. Is that right?
Well, they are all, I mean, they're all in different states, but they are over here on this side of the country. So,
oh, okay. West Coast.
Yeah. We've got 1 in Oregon, 1 in Washington, and 1 in Utah.
Oh, okay. So it's good that you don't have to travel too far to hopefully get everyone together. So what I wanted to ask is, what was maybe your favorite memories from, I guess, maybe from childhood going all the way to being a married couple to having kids and grandkids, of enjoying this wonderful season of the year that we have?
So I think if I think about it just from being a kid, we always got, one of the traditions that we had in our family was that every Christmas Eve, we would open 2 presents. One was always pajamas, always. So, like, oh, whoopee, we got new pajamas. And then the other one was you could pick any present under the tree and unwrap it. And so that was always a big deal for us as kids. And that's kind of, from a kid standpoint, what I remember probably the most. We did a lot of other things, I guess, but that's what I remember the most as a kid. What about you?
Yeah, and as a kid, one of the things that we used to do, I used to do with my mom and my sister. I mean, I had 2 brothers and of course my dad too, but I don't know, there was specifically my mom and my sister and we always picked somebody to do the 12 days of Christmas too. And so we would actually, it was so much fun because we would actually do, like, a partridge in a pear tree. And then we'd give them something that represented that, or the 12, I can't even think of 5 golden rings. We'd give them 5 donuts or, like glazed donuts. Anyway, and we would leave it at their doorstep. And we always tried our very hardest for them not to know who we were. We wanted to do it totally anonymously. And I remember doing that with my mom for several years. And that was a pretty fun and great memory because we were also helping somebody out. So she was really, teaching us about, service and stuff too. So that was good.
Awesome. Allison would love that. So
yeah, for sure. So that's something that I remember as a kid.
And then I think when we kind of got married, I mean, I don't know that I really had, till we got married. And then Jill, the creative one, like all of a sudden our family has 100 different traditions that we do, and they're awesome and fun, and our kids love them. So for example, and I'll just tell you one and then Jill can tell you the other 100, but the one that was really, really fun is that every Christmas Eve we get all our kids, would let them sleep together in the same room. So they'd pick one of their rooms and they'd all go in there and they'd have a sleepover. And then we would put wrapping paper over the door frame so that they would be inside with wrapping paper over the door frame.
Oh, awesome.
So then what would happen is then Christmas morning, when it was time to get up, and of course they would want to get up early, we would get up and we would put on, was it Mannheim Steamroller?
Yeah, there's a specific song from Mannheim Steamroller. I think it's Joy to the World.
Yeah, Joy to the World. And so we would blast that thing, like we would blast it crazy loud. And then they would run through the paper. So they would come bolting out of the room, usually, and they would decide, okay, you're the littlest, you go first, because they figured they'd break the wrapping paper at the bottom. And then as they got bigger, then they'd jump through it. And that became a tradition that we did for the entire time that they were little kids till they left.
Till adults.
Yeah.
Actually, so first I have to say there was a twofold, reason for that. It was fun for them, but it was also to keep them from sneaking out and digging around or looking at their presents in the middle of the night, right? So they were kind of trapped back in the room. And it was like, you can't, and then also they had to either call us. Well, let's see, did we have cell phones back then?
No, but
they
we
had like walkie-talkies or something.
Intercom.
They would have to call us in the morning when they woke up, and let us know. And then they knew they couldn't come running out until they heard that music playing, right? So we had to get everything just so, and then they'd come running out. But yeah, even when our kids got married and before they had kids or anything, they would come, home for Christmas every other year. And we would make them and their spouses run through the wrapping paper. Now, we didn't make them all sleep in the same room. But we'd make them go in the room and that morning, and then we'd put it up there and we'd make their spouses run through it too. And then once they all started having kids, then of course their kids started,
all doing it.
All the grandkids, if they were at our house, they'd run through it, and then they're doing it at their own homes now. So it's just a fun thing.
Yeah, it was fun. Everybody loved that.
Yeah.
That sounds really fun. Yeah. Great way to, I guess, do something funny that everyone's going to remember and just, build relationships together, which is really great, which you want to do at this time of year.
Oh, for sure.
No,
sorry, go ahead.
She got a few more.
Yeah. Do you want?
Oh, absolutely. Yes. Go ahead.
Okay. So another thing that we do, we usually have like our Christmas meal or whatever on Christmas Eve. And we had this thing called a snowbank centerpiece. And so we would, of course, everywhere we lived, there was never snow. Like when we lived in Louisiana, there was no snow. So I would get like some kind of white, material and make like it snowed in the middle of the table of our Christmas Eve dinner table. And then I would get just something small for each person in our family. And I would tie like a ribbon to it and I would hide it underneath the snow. And they would each have a ribbon going to their plate. And so before we'd start eating, we would just do this big 1, 2, 3, and they would pull their string and the snow would go flying and they would have their like little, I don't know, just fun little, it's kind of like a little gift, but something, kind of small and, cheaper or whatever. And that's, something that we do whenever we're together still too, just another like little, fun thing. But here's something that's a little more, again, service oriented or whatever that I tried to do with my kids. When they were little, we started out doing it and we kind of stopped after a while, but I had this star. It was a gold star and it was like on a stick. So it kind of looked like a wand. And what we would do is we'd say, this is a star. And what it's for is, somebody starts out with it and you go and you do some kind of sneaky service thing for somebody else in the family. So like, I might go in and make somebody's bed for them. And then I would leave the star, on their pillow. And then they'd see it and they'd be like, oh, that's great. You did something for me. And now I have to go do something for somebody else and then leave the star there and kind of passing it throughout the family. Just so we kind of felt that, that goodwill towards each other, I guess, at Christmas time.
Oh, wonderful. That's really, really cool. Very, very special and really great.
Mm-hmm.
I had a kind of a random question, but it's still related to Christmas. So 2 weeks ago, I got to speak with one of my good friends about Christmas movies, which I'm assuming you guys enjoy as well. Do you have some of your favorites that you like to mention? And then I guess maybe some of the non-traditional or the movies that are maybe like they take place at Christmas time, but maybe don't necessarily have Christmas themes. Would you consider them to be Christmas movies as well? Like something like Gremlins or Batman Returns or Die Hard?
Not Die Hard. I know there's a debate on Die Hard. Yeah, is it a Christmas movie? But I'm like, no, it's not.
Yes.
Anyway. Well, as far as like family, like I will say that our family was very much so into, we have certain family movies that we like. In fact, we have created sort of a little mini, movie theater here at our house, and we have posters up on our wall.
Oh, awesome.
That kind of like movies that mean something to our family. I would say probably when it comes to Christmas time, the one that meant the most was probably A Christmas Story. That's actually Christmassy. Was A Christmas Story. My one daughter, our oldest daughter, now hates that movie. Let me tell you the reason why. Because the part in A Christmas Story where the kid gets his tongue stuck to the the icy pole out on the playground. Well, she decided one day when she was a kid, that's not real, that's the movies. And she went into our freezer, which was one of those old freezers that would kind of get frosted over, right? Like one of the old kind that you had to defrost all the time. And she said, I'm going to lick that and show you that your tongue does not get stuck to ice like that. So she did it, and her tongue got stuck. So, and so she was traumatized by that. She now hates that movie, but we all think it's hilarious. So so that would be like an actual Christmas movie that I think sort of means something to our family, growing, as they were growing up or whatever.
Elf,
our kids really enjoy. Yes. We always, when our kids got to a certain age, we would always go to the movies on Christmas Day.
Oh, good.
That was another tradition, actually. Well, and Thanksgiving Day. We're weird like that. I mean, I'm like, we're probably the reason that people have to go to work at the movies and that it has to stay open on the days, which is really sad. But we love the movies, and we would usually go. So sometimes a Christmas movie, something that seems like a Christmas movie to us, only seems that way because we saw it on Christmas Day, as a or something. But I don't know. Any other movies that come to mind?
I can't think of any. I mean, no.
There's one that I watch. He doesn't watch it with me, but one that I watch almost every Christmas because I don't know, it just reminds me of Christmas, and that's Little Women.
Oh, okay. The newer one or the one from the 90s?
Well, I used to watch the one from the 90s with Winona Ryder in it. That was the one I would repeatedly watch. But I actually like the new one a lot too. But I haven't been watching that one the last few Christmases, so I don't know. Anyway, it's not really a Christmas movie, but it reminds me of Christmas.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, the conclusion that my friend and I came to is that if you enjoy it and it's fun, watch it any time of year. My sister likes to watch Elf in the summertime. So.
Oh yeah. Why not?
Very good. Very good. Well, that was pretty much all the talking points that I had tonight. Jill, Rich, did you have anything else you wanted to mention or discuss with either travels or work related or anything related to Christmas with your family?
Just that it's I think, overall it's such a great time. And I think at least for me, as I've gotten older and as I've it seems like I get sucked into the work a little too much. And you kind of lose that exciting time when your kids are sort of out of the house. Christmas is really different. And so I think you have to really focus on, and with like real intention, you have to think about what you're going to do and what you want to do and how you stay in that Christmas spirit. And I think one thing that Jill does that has really kind of rubbed off on me is we listen to Christmas songs on the radio, that Coast 103.5. They just play Christmas songs. That's all they play. And I am like a total kind of grunge rock kind of guy. That's like what I listen to. But during the Christmas season, I put that aside and I just listen to Christmas music. And so it's kind of fun, and it kind of helps you sort of stay in that Christmas spirit. And so I don't know, that's something else that I think is as I've gotten older, I really find I have to work harder to really enjoy the Christmas season. Not that I dislike it, but it kind of loses some of its magic because of you don't have the kids around as much. So
Right.
it's really like, I mean, we're going to be going to our daughter's house. I'm so excited because then you get back into it, the kids and their just energy and stuff. So I think we got to really find a way to make Christmas special.
And we try to still do, not always good at it, but we try to keep, do things that are Christmassy, even though we don't have the kids here at home.
Yeah.
Like make an effort to be like, okay, we're going to go see some Christmas lights. We're going to go, because you don't have the kids, excitement about it. But I still love, we're still like kids, right?
Well, that's true.
We're old kids.
Yeah.
But obviously we like Disneyland. So, but we set time aside to make sure that we do some Christmassy things, just to remember, that Christmas, get that Christmas spirit and remember, what Christmas is all about. So. Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's wonderful to see you guys making the efforts to do that, and then also for you to open up your home for guests that just have a party and have fun, which again is a really great thing to do. Like just get together with family and friends and just have fun and laugh, and play games, and then do what we can to help others who need help too. So yeah, I definitely love this time of year, and I think it's been really great for Allison and I to have kids. I guess probably another 20 years or so until both kids are out of the house. But but again,
maybe 30.
Yeah. You never know.
You never know.
Sometimes they never leave. No.
That's true. But it's been wonderful, and for me, and it's been I'm assuming wonderful for you guys as well to be parents and grandparents, and just to enjoy the Christmas season and to reflect on our Savior and everything that comes with as well. So.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
Oh, very cool. Well, Jill, Rich, thank you so much for giving me your time tonight. I hope you both have a very Merry Christmas. Enjoy your time with family, and thank you for joining me on this podcast.
Thanks, Albert.
Yes, thanks for having us.
Appreciate you, buddy.
You're welcome. Okay, so have a good night, and you've been listening to the Casting for Fun podcast. Thanks, everybody.